Ever find yourself caught up in the thought, it's all too much, or I can't handle this, or there are too many choices, or it's just too much to do? Well, you're not alone. It's very common to get caught up in this kind of thinking. We find ourselves experiencing strong emotions in response to the events of our life, and we become emotionally fatigued, or mentally fatigued, if it's a decision. We find ourselves in overwhelm. And today, I want to take on part 2 of our SOS series and learn how to overcome overwhelm. Today, I'm going to share my top tips for helping you move past it or through it, or to persevere with your goals in spite of it. Because the truth is, the fatigue comes not from experiencing those emotions, but from trying to resist them, trying to believe that they shouldn't be there, or that those events shouldn't have happened. All of the overwhelm comes from the thoughts in our mind. We actually create it ourselves. It just means we're giving too much of our time and our energy to them. You don't have to do that. And it can be really reassuring and calming to know that, to recognize that if you're experiencing overwhelm, it is just in your mind and that you have created it, not the circumstances you find yourself in. Well, that's all well and good, Brian, but what do I do about it? So let me share with you my top tips. Firstly, take that responsibility. Know your part in creating the overwhelm. Take ownership of it. And ask yourself, how many of the choices or tasks that I'm considering here am I responsible for creating? How many things have I said yes to that perhaps I would rather have not have? And make sure that you don't give in to self-criticism or self-judgment here. Just look for understanding, with compassion, with curiosity. How did I come to this point where I have so many things going on, or I have so many thoughts in my mind, or I have so many decisions to make? And how much of the overwhelm is simply the product of my thinking? How much am I just telling myself I can't, or there's too much? Once you've reflected on that, I really encourage you to write down 2 lists. Take a piece of paper, divide it in half down the middle, and on one side you want to write down all of the things in your circumstances that are outside of your control. How much of your time and energy are going to things that by definition you have no control over? It can be amazing how much time we spend in worry and anxiety and distress and concern that does nothing but drain us, pull our energy and pull our focus, and take us away from the serenity that we want in our life. So make that list of all of the things that are outside of your control and practice just putting them aside, deciding that by definition, there's nothing you can do about it. So you're not going to spend any energy worrying about it. Even that can feel very freeing. And then on your other side of your list, write down all of the things that are within your control. What do you have a choice over? What do you have control over? What can you do? Make a list of all of the things. Once you start looking, you'll probably discover there's more than you think, right? You have so much more power, so much more capability, so much more possibility. then you've allowed yourself. And then, once you have that list, just pick one. Choose one element of that list that you can do something about right now. And just focus on getting that thing done. Put all the others aside. This is, of course, one of those key strategies where you can just do one thing at a time. You can just make one decision at a time. And if the overwhelm is stopping you from even taking action, even considering any decision, find a simple one. Find the very smallest part that you could make and simply start there. I learned a great technique from Steve Chandler, who says to take a piece of paper and on one side write down all of the things that you want to get done or that you need to make a decision about. Write them down. And then turn it over. And on the other side, write down the only thing I have to do today or the only decision I have to make is. And simply take one of the things from the other side of the page and write it out. You might be surprised at how freeing it is, how amazing it is to just go, the only thing I have to do is this. The only decision I have to make right now is this one. You might also want to help put it in perspective. You might want to think about how much of an impact will this choice or this action, this decision make? How much will you care about this in 3 hours or 3 days or 3 months or 3 years? Are you spending a whole lot of energy on something that's not that important? Or if it is important, take the time to just spend it on this one thing. It's the only thing you have to do now. Of course, if you need help getting that perspective, enlist help. That's a great place to talk to friends, to colleagues, to family members. Talk to your coach. Get someone else who can have a look at a different perspective, for someone who's not caught up in the emotion of it. That can be incredibly liberating. And often, that person will be able to see things in a way that you can't. You probably know this already. You probably find it easier to work on other people's challenges than your own. Our brain always likes to solve problems for everybody else, but not ourselves. So enlisting help can be vital at this time. Another technique to help you overcome the overwhelm, to stop getting so caught up, is to purposely create some space in your mind. If you're overwhelmed with a number of tasks, for instance, just choose not to do some of them. Is it really going to matter if that one thing doesn't get done in the big scheme of things? Choose to eliminate some options. Again, remember to ask, how much will I care about this? Getting done, not getting done, this decision in 3 years' time, in 3 months' time, 3 hours' time? And if the answer is not a lot, then just practice letting it go for now. Not forever, but for now. It will help you free up some space in your mind. Of course, if you get stuck in this moment, if you get analysis paralysis, go back to last week's video and check out how to get unstuck. Remember that you can also decide you can't get it wrong. You could just decide that any answer you choose is the right choice until proven otherwise. And if it's otherwise, good, you learn from it. It was the right one then, and then a different one will be right later. Remember your power. Remember, you have created so much in your life already, that you are a powerful person. You have an amazing piece of machinery in your skull here. Your brain is the most powerful supercomputer in the world. And My belief is that the universe never gives us more than we can handle. I like to reflect on this idea that I learned from Byron Katie, and she says, everything happens for us, not to us. And so in a moment of overwhelm, when I'm really getting caught up in my head, in my thinking about it's all too much, or I can't make that decision, it's all too hard, instead, I try and practice taking a step back and asking, how is everything that's happening for me? It's not happening to me, it's happening for me. What I love about that is that even if I don't understand, I can't come up with a good reason, I've learned just to trust it, to trust that it is for me, and that eventually I'll figure it out. Remember, if you are having a feeling, even overwhelm, it's because you created that feeling with your thoughts in your mind. And because you create all of your feelings with your thoughts, you also have an unlimited capacity to feel them, because you made them. Good to know. It also means you can always change them at any time. You're only ever one thought away from a completely different experience of your life. That's a quote from Michael Neal. So take responsibility. Write down what is and isn't within your control. Take action on just one thing right now. It's the only thing that needs to be done. Get perspective and help if you need from other people. Create space in your mind. And remember your power. You created it. You can create something different if you want. And finally, I'll say this. Remember, it's also okay to rest, to take time out, to stop and pause and reflect. So often, when we get caught up in overwhelm, we stop caring for ourselves. We put our own health and well-being last. And I'll offer that it's much more productive to take a moment and care for yourself in that moment. And as you do, you'll discover that you have more capacity to move on, to resolve the overwhelm. Well, I hope this has been helpful. So, overwhelm, it's only a creation of your mind. There's nothing we can't handle. And wherever you're at, remember to have compassion and empathy and understanding for yourself. You can handle it. How will you manage your overwhelm? If you want more help transitioning into the life that you want to be living, rather than the life that you have, then remember, you can always sign up for a free exploratory coaching session with me on my website. Go to livemorelife.com.au and click on Free Exploratory Session. Fill in the form and I'll be in touch to help you out. Talk to you soon.